when I talk about everything I've done, it feels a little bit odd. It feels like there's something wrong with me, that I can't stick with something for far too long. It might sound like that. I get bored easily. But jokes aside, I did kind of flip-flop between investing and building, operating. I started my career with investing, actually. I started with private equity. I did invest in like large family-style, corporatized companies where we owned like a large chunk of those businesses, and the mission was to grow them and then have a meaningful return for everybody involved.
Didn't have the courage.
Yeah, he gave me like this crazy plan of, let's not do something for the next like 18 to 24 months and then we can do something. I'm like, what is that? Like who, like,
Yeah.
No, it's too late. Like it's too late even today. We should have started yesterday. That's like so not me. I'm like, I can't postpone something I want to do for like a year and a half, 2 years. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't. For many years to come, I thought now I was in a different stage of my life where I didn't have the mental capacity or the energy or the time to actually give 150% of my life and my time to a new venture. So I thought this was my thing, that I was going to do this for long periods of time. I didn't think, like, we started out with the 500 Startups brand. I didn't think, that was not going to be in the picture at some points. And none of these things we really thought about. But like throughout my life, all the time, instead of making like very long-term, very definite plans, I make plans around people because I think people are the ones who bring about or kill opportunities. And when I first met Enis, we weren't even peers at that point. Like in a very classical Turkish sense, I was his boss. And if I didn't really truly believe in him as a person and in his potential, I wouldn't have brought him up and like pulled him up first to my peer level, even before I had ideas about leaving and doing something else. I think from an outside, what people might be missing is Enis didn't rise up through the ranks and became like a partner and a GP in this organization because I was going to leave. This happened way before even I had ideas about leaving. And gaming, just like anything, it's a portfolio construction business. You have to take multiple bets for at least one of them to be successful. And now we have enough density and frequency of companies that are worth backing. There are things that are very similar, and also there are things that are very different. We co-founded Peak in 2010 when there was not a gaming, let alone a startup ecosystem to talk about in Turkey. We worked like crazy. It was the biggest educational experience of my entire life and kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And we did like superhuman things there because kind of we had to. There was no other way. We were like learning and doing at the same time, literally learning on the job. There was nobody we could hire that had know-how or experience in the things that we wanted to do. So we would just hire a bunch of really smart people, be it from Rocket Internet or like big consulting firms, like really smart people that were good at solving problems, and we would just try to learn together. So that creates a culture where there is not a ton of patience for lack of efficiency, slowness. It's just a very cutthroat, very brutal culture where only the best of the best survive, and kind of like the ones who drive the results end up taking initiative and are hurt basically in the organization. Kind of like some of these unintentional factors end up being present in your organization as a result of your journey. But when you do it a second time around, like us, and 4 out of the 5 co-founders are ex-Peak, many of us have worked for many years together in different projects, successful and unsuccessful. And not only the co-founders, but the initial team members are ex-team members from Peak, where we knew each other. So it was a select team. So when you have the capacity and the luxury of being able to do that, you really know the types of people that you're going to work with. You know how they react under stress. You know how they react when you're successful and also when you're unsuccessful, because we experienced all of that at Peak. So that gives you the opportunity to work with people that you truly, honestly know and have been through some really, really painful things. So that gives you the ability to make really intentional decisions around the type of organization you're going to be.
And as I want to ask you, because you have with EUVC, I wouldn't say you only back serial entrepreneurs, but you do have a propensity, you really like serial entrepreneurs. Is this journey of both, Marina and you are obviously close friends, and such a close friend that you've worked so closely with influences a lot how you think. But I'd love to ask you about this learning, so to say, or if this is part of the reason why you have such a strong propensity for serial entrepreneurs.
No, definitely. I mean, when we partnered up with Rina, and I mean, she was my first and hopefully last boss, I've learned a lot from her, and then her experience at Peak and also with Holloway was very instrumental in our decision making as a fund.
I'd love to ask you, where does this alumni, like, what do you think sowed the seeds for that massive of an alumni? It is a lot. Also, maybe talk to some of the characteristics of gaming that permit there to be so many.
I mean, Peak isn't by far the largest tech company to come out of Turkey. They're, if anything, the larger ones tend to be on more logistical, e-commerce, fast commerce side. But the Peak phenomenon has been very interesting because it's one of the only or one of the few that kind of was a school or a hotbed of like other startups to come out of. Like, as soon as you plaster the Peak logo on your pitch deck, doesn't matter what you were doing at some point. Like, they saw that, like the VCs saw that logo, they were like, okay, like, I want to fund you. The product line that we worked on, it's one of those very few things where even if you're a 100% Turkish company built by Turks, it's a global product, right? Only like less than 0.1% of your lifetime revenue or users come from Turkey. Like, you're not tied or pegged to whatever's happening in the Turkish market politically or economically, which is great. Like, you're very well diversified. So you're in this remote place where back in the day, people even didn't really know you exist as an ecosystem. Peak was under the radar for so long, and you had all of this time to yourself to build. You know, you're not under the spotlight, and you potentially could build something that could target billions around the world, which in turn creates billion-dollar economies around just one game. I think very few things in life, in tech, can give you that avenue. So even though like the e-commerce or fast commerce companies or fintechs were some of the largest in terms of size, gaming was one of those things that people thought, yes, like I can come together with like a couple of my friends and make something that will change my life. And in addition, it's very easy for people to start imagining what can be if somebody else before them does it. Generalists, money is money, I think, right? So if you are in a luxurious position of being able to choose, which not a lot of people are in, then it's only in rare opportunities it becomes kind of like a problem or even a choice. But even in that, there's a ton of generalist VCs, generalist investors who, without even direct gaming know-how or experience, have been part of amazing journeys. We see that in the gaming companies that have come out of Turkey, gaming companies that have come out of Europe and Israel. I think because those generalist VCs have been very successful, there have been specific gaming or apps or whatever you want to call them, VCs. Because those first generation of or second generation of generalist VCs have been very successful with some of these bets. Like, you know, each investor is different and each investor brings something else to the table. I think I would be able to say the same about each gaming-focused VC. There are many others who claim they have specific know-how and expertise and can add value, and they're smart investors. Everybody claims the same thing, but there are only a few in my mind that have been able to actually add real value to the companies they've invested in. But I'm like one of those people who think there's only like VCs can only do so much for the companies that they invest in, even if the best VCs, even if the most connected, even if the most insightful. It comes down to the operating team at the end of the day. And the best thing that a VC can do is sometimes like stay out of the way and just offer the help whenever they're asked, or stop founders from making fundamentally grave mistakes that are so apparent. But besides that, there's little value. So I wouldn't say, like, for example, E2VC is disadvantageous in any way, shape, or form compared to like a generalist VC based out of London. If anything, they're based here. So